This is Honda's East Liberty Auto plant in Ohio in the 1990s. Right now you're watching the giant press shop where Honda Accord and Honda Civic body panels were made. Large steel coils are fed into massive presses where dies stamp the metal into shape. This process creates body panels such as doors, hoods, roofs, fenders, and quarter panels. In addition to the Honda Civic, the Honda Accord was also produced at this factory. The Honda Accord was the best-selling passenger car in the United States in 1989, 1990, and 1991. In 1990 alone, a total of approximately 420,000 Honda Accord vehicles were sold across the United States. The process you are currently viewing is the welding of the so-called body in white. In car manufacturing, body in white refers to the stage where a car's body is fully assembled, but before painting, trim, engine, or other components are added. The body in white is critical because it defines the car's structural integrity, crash safety, and overall shape. The East Liberty plant was opened in 1989. It was initially built as Honda, of America's second automobile manufacturing facility, following the Marysville plant, and was designed to support the company's growing production needs in the United States. After the body in white is welded, it undergoes quality control to ensure everything is correct. The panels and openings, like doors, hood, and trunk, are measured to make sure they are perfectly aligned, often using laser scanners or coordinate measuring machines. The welds are inspected for strength, consistency, and completeness, either visually or with non-destructive methods such as ultrasonic testing. The gaps between panels are checked to ensure they are uniform, so the car won't rattle or look uneven. Some factories also test the body in white structural integrity, like torsion and rigidity, to meet safety standards. Only after passing these quality checks does the body in white move on to the paint shop and final assembly. Although the main Accord volume was and still is built at the Marysville auto plant, East Liberty's short run of Accord production in the 1990s shows Honda's strategy of balancing output across two Ohio plants to meet rising North American demand. Right now you can see how Honda cars were painted in the American factory in the 1990s, wearing suits and everything was sprayed by hand. After painting the car bodies, they were transported on conveyor belts and sliders to the main assembly line. On the main assembly line, the car bodies that have been painted and inspected are gradually turned into complete vehicles. Workers and robots install major components step by step. The fuel system and exhaust are fitted, with fuel tanks, fuel lines, and exhaust components. Interior components such as seats, dashboards, consoles, carpets, and airbags are installed. Exterior parts like bumpers, grills, mirrors, windows, and trim pieces are added. Finally, fluids including oil, coolant, brake fluid, and other necessary liquids are filled. At each stage, workers and automated systems check for fit, alignment, and function. After the main assembly line, the cars move on to final inspections and testing before leaving the factory. During this time, the plant helped meet booming demand for compact and mid-size Hondas in the US, vehicles known for reliability and fuel efficiency, especially important after the fuel crises and shifting consumer preferences of the 1980s. In the 1990s, East Liberty was one of the first Honda plants in North America to use new automotive technologies, including environmentally friendly waterborne paint systems and advanced production equipment. practices that also benefited Accord assembly operations. During the 1990s, the East Liberty plant consistently employed around 1,900 workers. A large portion of them worked directly on the main assembly line, contributing to the production of Honda vehicles day after day. In the early 1990s, Civics and Accords built in Ohio were a familiar sight on American roads. Over the decade, Ohio became Honda's central North American hub for auto and parts production. Honda was increasing local content of its US-made vehicles, part of a strategy that originally aimed to raise domestic parts, sourcing to 75% by 1991. East Liberty was designed with model flexibility in mind. It could shift between different Honda cars on the same line. In the early 1990s, this flexibility made it practical for Honda to place a portion of Accord production there, alongside Civic lines, even if just temporarily. Right now, you can see that more than 30 years ago, wheels were already being installed on cars at the Honda East Liberty factory, automatically using robotic arms. The Honda Accord and Honda Civic were extremely popular in the US between 1989 and 1991 for several reasons. They were known for their reliability and longevity, with many owners able to drive them for 200,000 miles or more with regular maintenance. Fuel efficiency was another major factor, as the Civic was very economical, and the Accord offered a good balance of size and efficiency. Both cars were built with solid construction, good handling, and refined engineering compared to many American competitors. They were also affordable to buy and maintain, and they retained their resale value better than many other vehicles. The Civic was practical and compact, appealing to commuters and younger buyers, while the Accord was larger, comfortable, and suitable for families. By the late 1980s, Japanese automakers like Honda had built a strong reputation in the US for quality, efficiency, and durability. Overall, Accords and Civics combined reliability, economy, and quality at an affordable price, making them very popular with American buyers during that time. Right now, you can see how Acura cars underwent quality control in the 1990s. In February 1996, it began production of the Acura CL Coupe, which was the first Acura model to be built in the United States and was assembled there alongside Honda vehicles. That production continued into the late 1990s before CL assembly moved to another Honda plant in Marysville, Ohio for the next generation. Workers on the main assembly line and in the quality control area worked in well-coordinated teams. They were required to wear white protective suits in the factory, and even today there is a mandatory dress code. Once vehicles finished final inspection at the plant, they enter the outbound logistics process, which is the system automakers use to move finished cars to dealers or distribution centers. This part of the supply chain includes planning shipments, storage if needed, and the actual transportation to destinations. Most new cars were, and still are, moved by specialized truck trailers called car haulers or auto carrier trailers. These are large semi-trucks with built-in ramps that can carry multiple cars stacked on 2 levels. Cars were loaded onto these trucks directly at the plant, and then driven to regional distribution lots or directly to dealerships. At the plant or a nearby rail siding, cars were carefully positioned on their carriers and securely fastened so they wouldn't shift or get damaged during transport. This was important because the cars were already finished, painted, and ready for sale. For longer trips across the country, especially to farther regions, vehicles were often loaded onto auto-rack rail cars. Rail transport was, and remains, a major part of finished vehicle logistics in the U.S., moving large volumes of new cars efficiently over long distances before they were transferred back onto trucks closer to their final destinations. From rail ramps or regional lots, cars were again moved by truck to individual dealerships where they waited for sale to customers. This last leg of the journey was usually by road using car haulers. Honda vehicles were also sometimes exported from the United States, for example to Europe, using large car-carrying ships. Owners especially appreciated the Civic for its low fuel consumption, which was important during times of higher gas prices. Many praised Honda cars for their solid construction, tight panel gaps, and good handling. Some owners mentioned that the interiors of early 1990s Hondas were a bit basic compared to luxury brands. The ride on smaller models like the Civic could feel stiff, but this was often considered a trade-off for better handling. A surprisingly high number of Honda vehicles from the 1990s are still on the road. The Accord and Civic, in particular, are known for lasting decades with proper care. Many have exceeded 200,000 miles, and some are still daily drivers or collector cars. Some are now popular as project cars, parts cars, or for export markets because of their durability. Honda's total sales in the United States steadily grew through the 1990s. By the mid to late 1990s, Honda was selling around 800,000 to over 1 million vehicles per year in the US. For example, about 1,009,600 vehicles in 1998 to 1999 when combining Hondas and Acuras sold in the market. Since the 2000s, Honda's annual US sales have commonly been over 1 million vehicles per year. In the mid-2000s, Honda often sold around 1.5 million new cars and light trucks annually in the US. Now you can see for yourself how Honda vehicles were delivered to dealerships where customers could purchase them directly. In the broader US auto market, Honda usually holds around 9% of total vehicle sales, making it one of the top 5 brands behind companies like General Motors, Toyota, and Ford.